So Trump is at it again. He fired the head of labor statistics because of the numbers that came out in the jobs report. He came out and said that the reports were definitely rigged and cannot be right. Now, listen, the jobs report for July did not look good at all. No one is going to sit here and try to claim that they were good. They were actually pretty terrible. But one thing that people actually need to understand is that the jobs report is not looking for data up to date. It's actually looking for previous month's data. So there is actually a lag time in this. And during that lag time, new data will obviously appear. So what was announced in June and July will definitely not be what's announced in August. And it makes sense, you know? But all Trump really said was he's going to fire her and he's going to bring someone in that's more competent and more qualified. But more qualified in what? To do what? To fake the numbers? To make him look a lot better? Because all this woman did was actually do her job. She released the numbers. And to be honest, she probably actually helped Trump a little bit because the overall numbers that they're talking about is the unemployment rate is at 4.2%. If you haven't seen social media lately, look, the unemployment rate is higher than 4.2%. It's just we don't know what the exact number is, and it's actually going to be hard to get that number. Ooh, okay. And when we're looking at 4.2%, we're actually talking about non-farm related jobs. So let's keep that in mind as well. So already by default, it's not 4.2%. It's going to be higher than that. But I think this number is definitely a lot worse. And the head of labor statistics actually helped Trump a little bit, but Trump was not amused by this whatsoever. But I mentioned social media to show how people are losing their jobs and stuff like that. Let's look at an example video of what this actually looks like right now. Exactly. And by the way, this is just one. You can see many amongst many of these. This is not a unique story that's going on in the country right now. There's a lot of people who are dealing with this. And it's very tough to watch people have to try to deal with this because, in all honesty, we're in a really weird economic time at the moment. So many people are losing their jobs. This job data cannot be the most accurate. We know that. But they will never release the exact numbers. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the exact numbers are not up to date. So you got to keep that in mind. So maybe the Fed was actually knowing something by not lowering interest rates to this. And I'm going to touch on that here in a little bit. But maybe they seen something happening that we just simply did not pay attention to from our perspective, that they're like, hey, if we do this, we can really cause some serious damage in the country. And we're not going to do that. So let's help the country overall instead of helping the few. Maybe they got a point now. So for those who do have jobs, listen, I know a lot of people were quitting jobs over the last few years and stuff like that. Hold on to your job with everything that you got. It may not be the best situation, but most Americans in this kind of situation, like they say, most Americans don't even have $500 for an emergency, and that's very true. So most Americans do not have the money saved up then to even survive this economic downturn that we're kind of going through right now. We don't really know what's fully going to happen. So just be patient, hang into that job. It could be a lot worse. You can face financial hardships by quitting your job or something like that. And look at this for a second. I just want you to kind of see the difference between when they say the US is going through an economic hardship and China. And Bill Clinton kind of tried to mention this to Jack Ma. And let me tell you, it wasn't a good response for him. Check this out.
Your country, China, there has been a great deal of concern about whether you've achieved the biggest movement of people out of extreme poverty into the global middle class in history, but done it in a way that overheated the economy, leading to the current difficulties. It comes from the bottom up. Is it more likely that fewer bad things will happen?
I think you American people worry too much about the China economy. Well, you see, every time when you start to worry about China, China goes better. Every time you think China is in problem, we'll get better. But there's a big difference between American consumption, because people say, well, the economy is bad, so China consumption will be good low. No, totally different. You Americans love to spend tomorrow's money. And the other people's money, maybe. We Chinese love to save money because we've been poor for so many years. When we make money, we put in the banks because someday we know the disaster is coming, so we can spend the money. So when the economy is bad, we still have the money to spend. You guys probably don't. You worry.
Exactly. It's just a different mindset. Okay. A lot of countries around the world go through economic distress. It happens in a lot of places in the world. The US is not unique to this. It does not only happen in the US. Okay. So when we come back to this and we see manufacturing jobs are being lost amongst many other sectors as well, especially in the tech sector, a lot of jobs are being lost. A lot of people with H-1B visas who actually have really high skilled positions are being fired. This only makes it tougher. Even in those high skilled positions, think about it. We don't even have the skilled people to actually replace those jobs. So those jobs are available on the market, very high paying jobs, but no one to do it. And this is exactly what these companies, especially Microsoft, are kind of arguing. It's like, you can't take away my talent. And what was the result of this? Well, India has a Silicon Valley now. China, come on now. We all knew they would have one eventually. They have a Silicon Valley now. So this is the trade-off that we're actually giving. For the immigration move, we're getting rid of really high skilled workers. Even on the farms, guys, like let's go to some of the more simple things. And by the way, I'm not saying farm work is simple, because it's truly not. It's very hard work. But a lot of the farmers have been fired because they're being kicked out of the country. Americans have tried to pick up these jobs and eventually just quit. And farmers are even coming out and complaining about that, to the point where CNBC actually made a whole mini documentary about it. So these jobs are really no joke, and I think we take them for granted. And what is the response that we kind of get from the government right now? Well, Trump is bragging about how much money is coming into the country from these tariffs. People are not seeing the effect of the tariffs in their pocket coming into the country, and that's the issue. If anything, they're actually seeing money leave, because they may be ordering a service or a product from overseas. Now they're being taxed for it. So they're not seeing the effectiveness of this money. But another distraction the government's kind of throwing at people is, hey, maybe you might get $600 or $1,400 on a tariff rebate refund check. It's just a distraction. People can't hear that right now for simple reasons. People don't have money for a $500 emergency, let alone $1,000 or $2,000. If they lose their job, what is $600 to $1,400 going to do? In the temporary moment, it will help. What happens in a few weeks? What happens the following month? They can't focus on that. That's not what's on their mind. So,
look, I don't know if you all paying attention, TikTok family, but if you're watching the news and you care about what's going to happen to you, and we know TikTok has all these great things and tools, ebooks, and all of this shit and whatnot, quick, easy schemes that they say is so easily to get all this extra money. But if you look and you pay attention, April mass layoffs, I was a part of that. Microsoft laid off 9,000 jobs. This is tech as well, HR and other different positions. Now they're finally officially attacking federal workers. What the hell you think is going to happen? So everybody's supposed to stay in the dark? No assistance, people who've worked, paid taxes, did what they were supposed to do. And so now, with this narcissistic regime that we have in office and his little booty lickers of America at his wheel, we're screwed. Now I know we did the boots on the ground. We, black folks, we know how to make it. But this is a different time. This is a different situation. And I'm not saying that we need to scramble and, oh my God, and panic. No, what I'm saying, we have to be strategic in what we do. We're gonna have to learn to get together and plot and save and put whatever we can, because I'm telling you, it's gonna become a time when you better have your paperwork in order. You better have passports. I'm trying to get my stuff together, because we don't know. Well, we know God reigns. We know our daddy above. We know what to do. But still, you still got to do the work. And so as I'm reading the news and I'm thinking like, we got all this bickering and shit on TikTok and all this other stuff on social media across the, board of the platforms. And I get it. We want to laugh, have fun. But bitches, you paying attention? Are you really paying attention to what's really out here? Are you really following? Now, if you got a corporate position, you making great money. I used to be at that point, but shit, I'm here now. And so if you don't plan and having some type of journal income other than what your salary is bringing in, it's hard. It's going to get hard out here. So I just want to bring awareness. I know I've talked about a lot of things just for me on my page and my niche and all that, or niche. But the reality is kicking in. Like, this shit is different. It's a different time of system that we're in. So we need to start paying attention and focus on unity and checking up on each other, because everybody ain't okay. Y'all take care. God bless.
For simple reasons, people don't know what to do right now. People are worried. All they want to do is provide for their families and not have to worry about how much money they're going to get back from a tariffs refund check. But this kind of brings me back to the point of the Fed, which I mentioned earlier, because they did not lower the interest rates this last week or at all this year, for the matter of fact. And to be honest, I'm starting to think that the Fed is right, that if they did lower the interest rate, it would kind of create a feeding frenzy. A lot of people would be willing to spend more money because they can borrow it at a lower interest rate and money becomes cheaper. Well, the reverse of that, or the cause and effect from that, is more inflation. We already are complaining about inflation now. Well, if they lower the interest rates, it would be a feeding frenzy that creates more inflation. And I get Trump wants the Fed to drop the interest rates 3 basis points, to go from 4.25 to 4.5 to 1.25 and 1.5 points. But I think it would just spiral into a financial chaos if they actually did that. So I'm not really sure if that makes any more sense the more I listen and pay attention to it. So, obviously some of the tariffs went into effect on August 1st. There was a 90-day delay for Mexico, and then, of course, a 7-day delay for some of the other tariffs that they said was just all logistics. Now, I don't really know if it's logistics or maybe they just don't really want the tariffs to happen. But if we get another delay, guys, we've seen this for, 4 or 5 times now this year, ever since Trump has been in office. Can we just stop reacting to all the tariffs announcements? But anyway, all this time is just confirming with, the job loss trend, the Fed not lowering interest rates. People don't know what to actually do. We don't know the exact job numbers. This is kind of a scary time to really be in. Take a note from that video with Jack Ma mentioning, look, you need to start saving your money because we don't know what this economy is going to look like. Okay. Right now, it's not looking great. Okay. Can we bounce out of this? Potentially. Maybe maybe the government has a plan to get us out of this. But for now, there's not enough data or numbers to run through so far to consider that there's something great coming out of this. All the details, all the data is showing that this could be really bad. So take all of this with a grain of salt and just pay very close attention. But thank you guys for watching, man. Have a good one, y'all. Peace out.
Thank you very much for your time today, guys. Definitely like and subscribe, and we will have much more coming for you. Have a good one.